Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Thursday evening, and as I'm sure you can hear in the background, I have the air fryer on. My intention had been to do flatbreads. However, I'm sure, as many of you will have known over the years, there are some days where your intention doesn't quite come to fruition because by the time you're finished work and you come in and you're just like, no. So apologies, I will be doing flatbreads at the weekend. They're just not happening tonight. So this evening we're talking acceptance. Acceptance of the fact that no, they're not happening tonight. And I was feeling guilty. I was sitting there going, really should. I said I would do them. I said I was going to do them quite soon. But I would just have been so hashy-bashy with it, trying to get it done quickly. Because I'm hungry, I need some food, and I would have just gone so fast, and it wouldn't have been fair because that's not how I made them the last time. So, yes. So I have now accepted that we are not doing flatbreads tonight. So, yeah, that's my thing. And then, as I say, that sort of got me on to sometimes we just need to accept it's not going to happen. I have now managed to accept that it's probably not going to happen that I'm going to win the lottery and be a multimillionaire overnight. What can I say? In my teens, I had to learn to accept that I don't have curly hair. I imagine that as a teenager in the 80s, the perms that I had, because this is my hair. Again, it had to be accepted. So there's so many things that we've grown to accept throughout the years. And one of those things that I'm finding that I have to accept just now is that the world is changing. It's like I just saw the headline that the Cabinet Office have not given the COVID inquiry the unredacted stuff that they wanted from Boris Johnson. They're going to a judicial something or other to see whether they have to. And I remember being young and grown up and thinking politicians were respectable and were out for the best for people. I have certainly been disabused of that fact over the last few years. When I started working, many people I knew were in jobs for life. You just have to accept now that that doesn't happen. We also got, I read an article today about a graphic designer. She was interviewing for a job and they said, okay, there'll be a challenge in the interview, and it was to do 3 pieces of work that would have taken her over an hour. And she's like, no, I've done this before. I'm not giving you my work that you can then use. Someone in the comments had said, oh yeah, I did that. They asked, but I watermarked mine. They asked me to remove the watermark because it was distracting the interviewers. And you're like, yeah, right, okay. Now that on its own wouldn't have been something that concerned me. Would have concerned me, but it wouldn't have been that noticeable. However, I noticed a job advert locally. Was it yesterday, I think? And I had shouted it across the office at Mandy. Go and listen to this. And it was a charity looking for someone to come and do a minimum of 8 weeks work experience. Work experience. And the benefit of the 8-week work experience was that you would be guaranteed an interview. You would be placed on their guaranteed interview scheme if you met the criteria. And I'm like, okay. And funnily enough, it's part of my job is words and to look at emails, to look at contracts, to look at paperwork and pick out the little bits. The little bits where you get told that, yes, we want you to do that, but that's your responsibility. And you're like, no, we are not taking responsibility for that. If you're asking us to do that, you need to certify that it's safe for us to do so. And there's a lot of, Mandy laughs at me. Some of my favourite words are, it would seem to be, it appears, they allege. I'm so much ambiguity if someone comes at me with an email that way. But it didn't used to be like that. It used to be. It's like when I said about saying no to the overtime, and someone came back with it, yes, some contracts nowadays have mandatory overtime. A good point. I never thought of that. But yes, I do know that there are some places which have mandatory overtime. So there's so many changes since I was young, and so many things that were expected before. You know, if you did an 8 weeks training in a place, that you actually got paid for it. It wasn't classed as work experience. And there's been such a big backlash on internships, unpaid internships, that now they don't call them that. They call them work experience. Or even your application process. They want you to do 3 days unpaid work to make sure you're a good fit. Behave. So yeah, acceptance. 2 different types of acceptance there. Accepting that things, you know, as I say, like winning the lottery, probably not going to happen. Making flatbread tonight, definitely not going to happen. Having the society expectations that I had when I was young, just accept that's not happening either. Things are changing rapidly all over the place, and sometimes not for our best interests. So yeah, that's my thoughts of today. Is on one hand, accept what you have to accept. As I say, you know, certain things are just not happening when I come in from work at night. On the other hand, accept that some things have changed in society, but be careful. Read things more carefully nowadays. Check things out a bit more, because a lot of wording has changed, or a lot of expectations have changed from when I was younger. So now I have 5 minutes left on my air fryer. I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea and go and have some food. Catch you later.